Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. I did a previous video where I showed you guys how to do lip syncing in Adobe Animate. A lot of you guys had questions about the jaw and how to move the jaw when you're doing the mouth movements. And so I wanted to give you guys a tour through one of my Photoshop files and the Adobe Animate file that I have that shows a chin moving. One of the things to remember is that even though lip syncing is pretty much only the mouth, you don't only have to have those layers set up with the mouth. I have a new rap song coming out and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. But this is one of the characters in the new rap song that I am currently writing. Right now. Anyway, so that's the song that we're working on. This is one of the characters that is going to be part of the video. Let's go to the computer, let me show you. And look at all of the mouth positions that we have. These are the ones that I'm using. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're the only ones that you need to use. Depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of animation studios that would think that this is overkill, which is fine. There's animation studios might have 4 or 5 different mouth movements that they use to do their lip syncing, but that's basically for efficiency's sake. And they can push content, just constantly pushing content. Since we're working on our own projects, we can take the time to do whatever it is that we want. Here we have the neutral mouth position. This is the S sound, D, E, U sound, O sound, A, F, M, R, L, a real big smile, a regular smile, laughing. So then after I have the sketches that I want done, what I do then is export all of these. You can even just import the PSD into Animate and make those Animate layers. So let's just try that, see what happens. To import a file into Animate, the keyboard shortcut is Command or Control R, and then you'll get a dialog box. You can import all of the layers. You just have to click on all the ones that you want to bring in. And that's pretty good. And then here it says convert layers to single animate layer, keyframes, or different animate layers. I'm gonna click keyframes just because the way that we want to do these mouth movements is we want each one of these mouth movements to have their own keyframe. So when we're in the frame picker, everything is laid out perfectly and all we have to do is click on the image that we want to display. So that should be good enough. We don't need to import the whole thing because we already have it set up in the other Animate file. So I'm gonna click import. Let's take a look and see. There we go. So now that we have all of these layers on their own keyframe, what we're gonna do is right click and copy layers. Then I'm gonna go up to Insert, New Symbol, and let's just call it Head. And make sure that the type is a graphic symbol. That's important because when you're using the frame picker can make its way through a graphic symbol. If you have it in a movie clip, it's not going to display properly. So that's the #1 thing that you want to do here. Movie clips are super helpful for different things. We need to make sure that we have a graphic symbol. So click OK. I'm going to come up here and paste layers. Let's zoom out just a little bit. And if we scrub, this one here is it's empty. So let's just go ahead and, well, this layer we don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. On this layer, I'm going to hit Shift F5 to delete that layer. We don't need empty layers. So let's just pretend like this is everything that we need. So now what I'm going to do is lock that down, create a new layer, and say head, or actually mouth shapes. And then one of the things that I like to do is I'll create a new layer and name that labels. And this is where I'll highlight all of those frames by double clicking, and you see that blue color that's there. What we're gonna do is now hit F6, and it's gonna turn that whole thing into individual keyframes. And now I can come here, click here. This looks like the M. So under label, I'm going to type M. And that is just for my own comfort. You don't need to label these. When you're working with Animate, Animate is going to take a look at the content of the keyframes, not necessarily the label. I just like doing that so I know what I'm looking at. This is F. This is, we'll just say I'm guessing what that is. We'll take a look at the finished version after this, and then all of those are labeled properly. I believe this is O. Ooh. I think it's E. We'll do D. Not smile, but smile. And then we have neutral. What you want is to have neutral all the way at the beginning, because that's the first one that you're almost always going to select. So what I'm going to do is click and drag all of those frames, move them over one frame, and then I'm going to take the neutral and drag that over. And this is something really cool that's relatively new to Animate. I can actually zoom in on these keyframes, and now we're able to see the labels of all those keyframes. So we don't need this. So again, I'm going to hit Shift F5 to get rid of those. And then what I would do is highlight all of those, hit F6. And now this is the sketches, where we can do a right click, do properties, and drop the opacity down to 50%. And then I would keep that locked and even keep the labels layer locked, because what you don't want to do is accidentally draw on that layer. Speaking of drawing, I'm not going to go through and ink these, but I will leave a link to a video where I do cover that. And we'll do it again in future videos, but I know if you guys just finished watching the lip sync video, you probably saw this already. So I'm just trying to give you guys a broader idea of how to deal with the jaw moving. Now that we know how to set up the file, I'm gonna close this because again, we don't need it. Here we are with a more final version. I don't want to show you guys the background or anything just yet because it's part of the video. So what I will do is let's go into the head so you guys see what we're dealing with. So I'm going to double click on that. Actually, look up here to the top right. You see how it's a graphic? Even if you were to set this thing up and accidentally have a movie clip, once you have your artwork on the stage, if it's not the right graphic style or a graphic symbol, even if this was, say, a movie clip, what we're going to do is click on graphic, and then it should then act the way that you want it to. But this is only going to change this one instance of the graphic. If you wanted to change it completely forever, what you do is you can right click on this and go to show in library. So I can right click this, go to properties, and this is where you can change it. So if you accidentally made a movie clip and you see these little icons down here, so the one that looks like shapes, that's actually a graphic symbol. The one that looks like a little box with a gear in it, a little bit, a sunshine or a gear or something, that's a movie clip. So I want to right click on that, go to properties, and change that to graphic. And then we're able to click and drag that and use it wherever we need it. But we don't need it there. We have our head here. I'm going to double click on the head so you guys can see I have the right eye, the left eye, and the eyebrows all on separate layers because all of those things work completely different. So I want to set up the head in a way where I have the most flexibility and get the most expression out of my cartoon. Notice here I have the head background. In the previous video, I showed you guys how to have just the head and the mouth is moving. I'll leave a link to that video on the cards and even in the description of this video. But for this one, what I want to do is show you guys. I have the head background and I'm able to click in there, and here you see the labels that we were talking about. We have labels, we have neutral, A, D, E, F, L, all that good stuff. That's ready to be lip synced. So if we go back to the entire head collection, not just the background, let's go back to the head. First off, I want to resize the keyframes. I don't really need it to be that big. If I clicked plus here, this is where I would drop in my audio. Now that we have a layer for audio, let's go ahead and import some audio. Again, Command R is the shortcut, or you can go to File, Import, Import to Stage. I have an audio file here. And if I click way over here and hit F5, F5 is a shortcut for a new frame. Not a keyframe, just a regular frame. It's different. So what I would do is probably zoom all the way out and come way over here and add F5 and add another frame. And you see this waveform here. What I'm going to do is click on the very first frame, zoom in just a little bit, click on the very first frame for that. And in the properties panel, I want to make sure that sync is set to stream. It just works better that way. Set it to stream and let it go. So now I'm able to come over here, and if I click F5 here, I'm going to go back down to the head background layer, click on that. If I hit the return key,
hi guys, thanks for watching.
You see how the audio is playing and the mouth is going nuts? It's cycling through all of the graphics that are within that graphic symbol. So what we need to do is click on that, and in the properties panel, under looping, I want to hit the last icon, the one that's labeled play single frame. Let's click on that. I'm just going to make sure that it's the first frame, which is our neutral frame, which is what we talked about earlier. Now that I have that done, if I hit the return key,
Hi guys, thanks for watching.
His mouth is not moving. So right there, he's saying hi. So I'm going to click on the head background. Make sure that the head itself, the graphic for the head, is selected. Come over here to the frame picker, click that. What's going to happen is the frame picker is going to open up. And here, if you notice within this panel, all of the labels that we used are now being displayed right here. So here we see neutral, A, D, E, F, L, M, O, R, so on and so forth. You get it. So here, if he's saying the H sound would be probably something here. I'm going to click on here and then just drag this to the right to get a little bigger representation of what's happening here. Okay, so we need something kind of like an sound. So let's click on UH, So let's click on Click on that, and what happened, if you see here, it created a keyframe automatically and it switched the graphic to the sound. If we take a look at the properties panel, it's still stuck at the single frame. Right about here, let's hit the E. G would be something like a G. Hi, g. So then, so the E and the G for guys is kind of the same. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. One thing that you want to keep in mind when you're doing lip sync is that you don't want to have so much mouth movement that it makes people dizzy. It's just going to be a mouth moving at rapid pace. You don't want that. You want to give just enough. For me, my rule of thumb is any really distinct mouth movement, like an F, an L, O, a smile, anything like that, really big ones, you want to drop those in right where they belong, but you don't want to overdo it. So taking a look again.
Hi guys.
Right about there, I'm going to hit the ah sound. Guy. And if you wanted to, you can fit it, you can come in here and fit in an E. And he says guys, so let's drop in an S. Hit return. And in here, we're gonna drop in a smile just because we can.
Hi guys, thanks for watching.
Thanks is almost, we can drop in an L. Thanks. S. Let's move this one over. Let's drop in an F sound. For, and he's about to say for. Right here we can do a W or an ooh, ooh. For what? And then we're gonna go back to neutral. So let's take a look.
Hi guys, thanks for watching.
You see how that works? You don't want to overdo it because you might set off someone's dizzy alert and you don't want to do that. What you want to do is hit the right phenome on the right word at the right time, and that's just enough. And always be looking at, like, going back and reviewing what you're doing. If you feel like the mouth is moving too fast, like, take some of those keyframes out. People are fine. People are smart enough to figure out those words are happening, and you're trying to sell them on the fact that these cartoons are alive. You don't have to overdo it though. And if you notice,
hi guys,
his chin is moving, and that's what we came here for. In a previous video, we had only the mouth moving, and so the chin wasn't moving too much. And this is just another way to be able to sell the fact that this person or this made-up character is actually moving, and that their mouth is moving, their chin is moving, better said. This is the way that you can animate and make the chin move and make it a little bit more believable. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about animating the mouth movements, leave them in the comments. I'll make a new video, or I'll try to reply to you in the comment section. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and send it on over to anyone that you think might learn something from this. And if you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe. And if you have any ideas for any other tutorials and any film or animation tutorials that you would like to see, please leave them in the comments and let me know. I'd be more than happy to take a look at whatever it is that you guys are requesting and actually make a video for that. All right, that's it for me in this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Leave a comment. Later.